to house mystery metal fragment most likely did in fact come from a UFO-style craft. If you look at the materials involved, a layer of bismuth with a positive 9/2 odd nuclear spin value, and magnesium with a negative 5/2 nuclear spin value, and even the trace amounts of zinc at less than 3% with a positive 5/2, do indeed create the differential that is most effective for creating the electrogravitic effect. The higher the differentials involved, and the greater the odd nuclear spin value, the greater the effect. 9/2 elements, like germanium and uranium, are ideal for creating the electrogravitic effect. Unfortunately, these elements are usually radioactive, but this does account for why people who have alleged to witness UFO sites where they have landed being radioactive. In John Searle's levity disk, the runners are constructed of a mixture of aluminum, iron, and neodymium. Neodymium with a negative 7/2 nuclear spin value, and aluminum with a positive 5/2 nuclear spin value. The iron does not have an odd, it is a positive 1/2. And then there is nylon that he uses in his, supposedly as a binder, and he indicates that it's for the generation of static electricity. Electrons and atoms have both electron spin, the rotation, and the electron's orbital angular momentum. By combining them, we get the total angular momentum. But we are not interested in electrons. It is the total intrinsic angular momentum of the nucleus when stimulated by high voltage pulses or by high speed rotation of the material that contains the nucleus with odd spin values that we are after to create the electrogravitic effect. A characteristic of the total protons and neutrons is that the nucleus of odd mass number will have a half integer spin, and nucleus of even number will have a whole integer spin. You could conceive it like the odd nucleus is egg-shaped and does not rotate evenly. This directional momentum is exaggerated by the high power stimulus. Henry William Wallace was a scientist at GE Aerospace in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, and with GE Reentry Systems in Philadelphia. In his two patents, Method and Apparatus for Generating a Secondary Gravitational Force Field, and his Method and Apparatus for Generating a Dynamic Force Field, he chronicles the secret of the odd nuclear spin values. In the abstracts of his disclosure, he states, "This is an apparatus and method for generating a non-electromagnetic force field due to the dynamic interaction of relatively moving bodies through gravitational coupling, and for transforming such force fields into energy for doing useful work." While these volumes in the UFO How-To series are subdivided into their various categories, the sciences are not mutually exclusive. The introduction of electrostatics into the science of rocketry paved the way for plasma propulsion. Electrostatics were avoided in this series specifically to keep the focus on the patents that most resemble UFO sightings, not to make the series a definitive history of space travel. Most electrostatic patents, much like the ion wind drives, fall short of the speed, power, and maneuverability that witnesses of UFOs identify. Plasma propulsion relies upon the science of magnetohydrodynamics, but the MHD patents are distinct enough to be different from the rocketry style of the plasma propulsion systems. Again, the emphasis is on the UFO craft, not the history of propulsion. Across the volumes of the UFO How-To series will be found 3,000 pages of patents, most of which that have lapsed into the public domain, regarding UFO technology. These are, in fact, patents, not theories. They are almost the equivalent of blueprints. On a timeline of the life of an invention, the inspiration or serendipity that leads to the patented invention would be like conception. The development of the theory would equal birth. The patenting process would be the equivalent of graduating from college and moving into your first job. Armed with the knowledge contained in the UFO How-To series, you need no longer be just a spectator of the UFO phenomena. You can be in the know about the UFO technology yourself.